Ben, thanks for joining me and us. We're thrilled. You did a fabulous job as the 34th president of the American Society of Echo. So, it was great. The question comes to me is, how did you get introduced to echocardiography?
That's a good question. And it was in my training. And so when I was a medical school student, I knew I wanted to do cardiology, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And then I did a rotation in pediatric cardiology. Right. And really fell in love with congenital heart disease. And so that was my third year of medical school. My fourth year, I got involved in a research study with the pediatric cardiology group at where I was training. And we did a study on ASDs. I got to look at a lot of echoes, and I really fell in love with imaging, with echo. My residency, I did at one of the busiest children's hospitals in the world, at Texas Children's Hospital. Sure. And when I wasn't taking care of pediatric patients in all different areas, I was sort of in the echo lab sitting, and they call it mission control down in Houston, just because it's near the NASA mission control. And sure. They would let me hang out, and I really kind of fell in love with echo, and then my fellowship, I was torn between there and Mayo Clinic, and ended up at Mayo, and really a mecca of echo as well. So my echo initial exposures really was in training, and really grew to love echo in every facet of it.
It's interesting because, I think those of us that have seen the power of this technology to diagnose and then directly lead to proper management of people. And obviously in pediatric and congenital heart disease, it's been really draconian in what it's done over the years.
Absolutely. I mean, echo can make quite a difference in just about any population of patients with congenital heart disease, and it's really can be dramatic.
And you've had a very interesting career. Have there been important milestones that you look at in your own career development as it pertains to echo, or as it pertains to pediatric cardiology? Or
yeah, I think the decision of where to do the training was one of the big ones, and I think in hindsight, I made some really good choices as to where I decided to do my training. I developed a lot of mentors at those places that are still friends, colleagues, and mentors to me today.
Sure.
And even at the ASE scientific sessions, it's been tremendous to see those individuals from, Texas Children's, from Mayo, from my early years outside of fellowship, and those mentorships that you've developed, those colleagues you've developed, you continue to follow those. And those are really the things that kind of resonate with me in my early career, and have continued to sort of enable things in all facets of my career.
It's really a recurring theme with ASE and that mentorship, and really, and that's one of the things that I think really sets the field apart and the society apart. How did you first get involved with the ASE?
That's a good question, and it was when I was a fellow. I went to Mayo and was a fellow, and so many of the echocardiographers at Mayo Clinic are ASE members and are very involved in ASE. So I learned to love ASE as a fellow, and the research studies that I did in the echo lab, the first place we would submit them would be to ASE. So my very first exposure to ASE was finishing up my first year, just starting my second year of fellowship, presenting an abstract.
Right.
At the scientific sessions, and at the end of my third year, I had another abstract, and my first publication was published in JACE.
Where did it go from there?
Yeah, after that, I really fell in love with ASE, and so as I continued to move from fellowship to my early career, I looked for opportunities to participate at ASE. I was invited to give a lecture, which was great. And after I gave a couple of those, I was pretty much on the regular circuit to come and do that. And, volunteering at ASE is a tremendous opportunity, and there's so many ways to do that at ASE. And so I got involved in committees. I got involved in task forces, our Pediatric and Congenital Heart Disease Council.
Right.
I was a at-large member to start with.
Right.
And then as I finished that up, I was selected to be the pediatric representative for the Scientific Sessions Planning Committee, which was a great opportunity for a couple of reasons. One, it gave me an idea of more of what was going on in the society. And the second thing was I got sort of hooked up with Neil Weissman, and Neil was the head of the scientific sessions that year, and Neil really became my mentor at ASE, and one of my mentors, but my main mentor at ASE. So that opportunity to develop that relationship really came through being on the PEATS Council, being on the Scientific Sessions Planning Council, and then you get to meet all sorts of people at ASE, and you realize that it's a small world out there, and the people the friends you're making, the colleagues you have, the mentors you have, really become sort of lifelong.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We talked about that friendship aspect of it, but it's really true. And you get it, as you mentioned, you get it by being engaged with the society. Ben, you during your term as president, you had a great presidency, but there were some major goals you had, and things that you looked at. How do what do individuals need to become a member of ASE, and then how do individuals grow in the ASE? Tell me a little bit about, as you look back at that, how that evolved.
Yeah, it was sort of the value proposition of what it means to be a member of ASE, and really we want to acquire members, but we also want to keep them, and we want to keep them engaged. So I had 3 initiatives that sort of tried to address that value proposition. And the first one was ASE Matters. And ASE Matters was trying to expand the volunteer opportunities at ASE. And there already were quite a few of them, but we expanded more with micro-volunteer opportunities, with a variety of if the committees were already taken and if the task forces were already full, we tried to find other opportunities for people that were really interested in getting involved in ASE to put them to work, so to speak, at ASE. And what I've always sort of preached to my fellows and preached to people at ASE is your first committee isn't necessarily going to be your last committee, but your first committee is going to give you that opportunity to learn something about the society, and your continued involvement and those volunteer opportunities is going to just increase the depth and breadth of your understanding of our society.
Yeah, and it was really a very good initiative and very important. You also had one named ASE Mentors, which you've already mentioned, the important mentors to you, but tell me about that.
Yeah, that was the most important one probably to me, and the sort of the centerpiece and my thoughts when I put this together, because mentorship I think is so important, and I think it's so important in our society, not just for mentees, but for mentors. And so I wanted to sort of reinvent and rethink about the mentorship program. We had a mentorship program, but I thought that it could be better. And so with the help of Caroline Ward, Suzanne Morris, Neil, my mentor, I got him involved, and we had a mentorship task force and even a capstone project from the Leadership Academy, which really sort of helped crystallize things. But we really wanted to reinvent things. One is to improve the matching process, and that's because having a mentor-mentee have an appropriate match is really important to that sort of process. The second thing is we wanted to support both the mentors and the mentees. Right. So we developed resources for them so that in the mentorship process, whatever area of the process that they're in, they had resources, they had things that could help with that mentorship relationship. And you want that relationship to be positive for both, because you want to retain good mentors. You want to have the mentees have that great relationship so they can grow up and be the next generation of mentors. Right. And so that was the goal that we had with the mentorship program, and we're in our second sort of iteration of it, and so far it's been very successful.
It's extremely important because it establishes relationships as well as educating, and it is bi-directional. I mean, the mentors get it's part of the fun of educating younger people or people who don't know as much, but then learning from them.
Absolutely, and my my involvement with it, even though I was part of the redesign of it, I really have enjoyed now being the mentor with new people coming in. And it's not just those people that I'm familiar with, because a lot are familiar with me through congenital heart disease or this or that.
Sure.
I really enjoy mentoring people that are sort of outside of my sphere of influence. And one of the ones I'm mentoring now is an anesthesia person in our society that really wants to get more involved in ASE. And so having that experience is at ASE and knowing how to kind of get her involved in other things, it's really been a fun experience to be able to do that.
It's fabulous. Then you also had an initiative that I think is really important, and that was the ASE Educates, and really looking at the adult aspect of congenital heart disease, which is a growing need. Tell me about that.
Being the second pediatric cardiologist to be a president of ASE, and David Son was our first pediatric cardiologist back in '86 and '87, my passion coming in, one of my big passions was congenital heart disease. Right. And certainly, as you said, you're very much correct. One of the biggest needs in the community is having adult sonographers have those skills to be able to image patients with congenital heart disease, adult patients. And adult congenital heart disease is the fastest growing segment of congenital heart disease. Right. So that population is only going to grow. And there only are a certain number of trained congenital sonographers. And so a lot of these patients are being scanned by adult sonographers with minimal sort of experience or exposure to them. So my goal with ASE Educates was to develop opportunities for adult sonographers to gain congenital heart disease knowledge.
Sure.
And hands-on sort of ability to image. And so we did things from JACE and CASE had focus issues. Right. The year I was president, we had our congenital pediatric course that we do, virtual course that we do every year. We dedicated it to training adults to train to be able to scan adult congenital heart disease patients. We had guideline statements that were published that year in JACE. We began to develop methodologies at institutions or even at the scientific sessions to provide hands-on training for adults that are interested in scanning congenital heart disease patients. So kind of a multifaceted. And then we had some products that we came out of our educational department, pediatric cardiology micro lessons. There's 10 micro lessons that adult sonographers can avail themselves to.
It's really important because the adult congenital heart disease is really a journey in physiology and altered physiology, and you need people who can not only get images but understand the physiologic impact of what they're seeing and all that. So you also had an initiative about international activities.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
That is absolutely
really
correct.
Interested in international activities of the society.
Yeah, and that was part of my ASE Matters. And our society has about 20% of our membership is international, and I really felt that it was important for ASE to identify opportunities to interact with and partner, and we're doing this, but to partner more with societies around the world and with individuals around the world to get them involved more in ASE, to open up opportunities for them to participate in our society. And so, that was another one of the sort of the important, I think, initiatives that we had during my presidency, and we've done that, I think, in many years, but I tried to emphasize that during my year.
That was and you made a big impact with that. If you think now, where's ECHO and ASE going to be in 10 years?
That's a good question. There's a lot of growth going on now. If I think back to my fellowship days and where it came from there to now, and it's just been phenomenal, the growth that ECHO has had in so many different areas. Now AI is certainly dominating sort of the next phases of multimodality imaging, and certainly ECHO is going to have that affected by it and also benefit by it. And I think we need to be able to innovate. We need to be able to have a mindset that knows where AI is going to benefit echocardiography, whether that's image acquisition, image interpretation, workflow, those types of areas, or is it going to be, areas of sort of knowledge of heart disease and diagnoses. So I think there's a lot of areas that AI is going to impact echocardiography. And I think the other thing in the next 5 to 10 years will be the growth of multimodality imaging and how echo interacts with that. And again, as echo continues to innovate, I think echo is going to continue to be the workhorse of imaging in all patients with heart disease because of its many advantages. But I think, fusion imaging, the ability to have echo interact with CT and with MR and those kind of things, I think will become a big advantage. And as that continues to grow and as those opportunities with interventional echo and a lot of the other things that we're doing that we weren't doing 5 or 10 years ago, those benefits I think will become much more apparent.
No, it really does. And there are challenges too. I mean, because at least in the surgical interventional world, that MRI and CT have become dominant, and echo's just sort of out there, and yet it's ubiquitous and it tells you a lot of information very quickly. So it's going to be interesting. It's
going to be interesting, and part of being an echocardiographer is you need to address the concerns of the consumer, and the consumers are, as you've mentioned, surgeons. They're clinicians, and echo needs to be able to answer those questions and answer those questions effectively, or they're going to, go to other modalities to do that. And at our institution, we're very blessed because our surgeons are very comfortable with echo, and they have been for decades. And so that's usually the go-to modality, and certainly CT and MR is very prevalent in our adult population. But yeah, that's a very good point.
Let me ask you, it's really fascinating to me because you've had an incredible career, and both inside and outside of the echo world of the ASE. Are there noteworthy memories that you think back about, events, people, experiences? I'm just curious. You've had an active, busy, good life.
One of the experiences that jumps out at me is in 2004, I had my first opportunity. So I was out of fellowship for about 5-6 years. I got my first invitation to go internationally and to be a visiting professor. And I got to go to Belgium, to Leuven, Belgium, where a very busy research program, with very prestigious program. And that really put the bug in me to have not only national but international goals and both in research and education and even clinical interactions. And the world of congenital heart disease is a pretty small world, and people all around the world, colleagues all around the world, we know each other.
Right.
And being able to use echo, my passion, as a vehicle to be able to go to international places and to interact and to, again, grow those thoughts of collaboration, grow those thoughts of leadership, and again, back to friends and colleagues, all those things is really an experience that kind of stands out to me as I think about it going back. And now, I travel nationally and internationally all the time, but back then that was something that was the first exposure to that was really exciting to me.
Cool. And you mentioned people, you mentioned some mentors, but people have been very important in your professional and personal life.
Absolutely, and like I said, back in not as much my medical school days, but my residency days, my fellowship days, my early career days, all those mentors that I had, they're still friends, they're still colleagues. Then developing through the ASE, through our pediatric council, because of that international sort of relationship that we have in ASE, you develop relationships that way as well. And so it just becomes, ASE becomes the vehicle to really grow those relationships. And that's what I think one of the biggest assets to me in my career for ASE has just been that opportunity to have those friends and colleagues and mentors. And coming to ASE even this weekend, just a tremendous opportunity to get back together and just reminisce, but also the mentorship things kind of come out again.
That's fabulous. Well, listen, you did a wonderful job as the 34th president, and the society's better, and you've grown from that too. So thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you very much.